Sure.
You're live.
All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to another week of the Real Estate Game Changer Show. My name is Mike McKay, your host, based in the Jacksonville, Florida market. If anyone's in Jacksonville, needs help on anything, feel free to reach out to us. We are still actively buying in Jacksonville, so if you got stuff to sell, send me a DM, and I'll shoot you over our buy box. Each and every Friday on this show at 4 p.m. Eastern, we dive deep with guests all over the country who are changing the game of real estate. And this is a live show, so please comment with any questions for our guests to answer. This week, on our show is Pedro Leon, and he's based out of Orlando, Florida, and is on track to do $1 million in wholesale fees this year. So, Pedro, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate it, man. Really excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, man, let's talk a little bit about how you got started in the real estate business.
Sure. Well, I got started in real estate back in 2012, actually. I'm from New York originally. I'm from Ecuador. Um, that's my background, and I grew up in New York City, in Queens, New York, in an area called Jackson Heights. I grew up there. It's very diverse there. You have all nationalities. That's the thing I like about New York City. Growing up in New York City, you meet a bunch of different cultures, et cetera, and you get to understand a little bit more about different cultures. So when you move anywhere and you come across, Russian people, Indian people, Hispanic, Spanish, doesn't matter, Asian, you kind of know a little bit about their culture, and it's easier to adapt to a new area,
Mhm.
in lack of a better word. So yeah, I started back in 2000, I would say 2011, 2012, 2013. I
Mhm.
started working for a mortgage company, as a telemarketer, and we
Mhm.
started doing loan modifications and short sales. Um, I was not closing any of these deals. I was just lead generating. And eventually I became a closer, and then I started closing my own deals, and that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I learned what to do, what not to do, um, and loan modifications. There was a great area at the time because the
Mhm.
market just crashed, and a lot of people a lot of people from the stock market, they jumped into the mortgage business. So there was a lot of like gray areas going on with the loan modifications and short sales back in the day.
Mhm.
But that gave me a head start. If you ever watched the movie The Boiler Room, um, it's
Yeah.
a classic. It's a classic movie, sales guy movie, and that's kind of basically my life, right? It was something very similar to that, but you learned a lot, and eventually I became a real estate agent. I was doing residential real estate. I partnered up with a broker in Queens, and we were renting apartments all over New York City. I also worked for Century 21 American Homes.
Mhm.
I did a few sales, but I was niche specific in doing rentals in New York City. Is very
Yeah.
popular because basically in New York City you would charge the first month rent and the security, and then you would charge a broker fee. And that's what you will make as an agent. So, the idea was to do as many of those a month. So I was,
Mhm.
at my peak, I was doing about 15 to 25 of those a month with a team. Was always good at creating teams and building leaders, and
Mhm.
and yeah, I was doing that. And then after that, I was lucky enough to be mentored by a guy named Napoleon Barragan. He was
Mhm.
the founder of 1-800 Mattress.
Mhm.
He's actually considered top 10 salespeople of all time in history on Inc. 5000. And basically, I was rolling with the guy for about 6 months. And he was taking me to all types of like sales operations. This was like 2014, 2015. So that gave me a lot of exposure to understand what an operation will look like um, virtually, even though it was back then, but also in an office environment. So that was great, and again, I became a real estate agent. I was doing pretty good, but I think in 2017, 2016, 2017,
Hmm.
I was involved in the wrong relationship, like emotional relationship. And
Hmm.
basically, that kind of distracted me from growing even more. So there was a breakup there, and that kind of impacted me a lot.
Hmm.
And eventually, things started to go south, and I lost my focus. And then in 2017, I basically was already thinking like, hey, I need something new. I'm not comfortable in the city anymore, et cetera, et cetera. To cut it
Hmm.
short, in 2018, it was like a week before, one of my buddies, who's also very successful in the space,
Hmm.
he decided, he's like, hey, we should get into Amazon FBA, Shopify, and all this. So we started like networking and learning about e-commerce, etc. Eventually, that didn't work. But so it came to a point that it was just like, okay, it was a week before April Fools of 2018. That's how I
Okay.
remember it. So, and he said, you know what? We should just go to Florida. We should just go to Florida. There's this thing called wholesaling, and you can flip contracts and you can make a lot of money. And I started listening to guys like Nick Reese from Alpha Flipping. I don't know if that guy's
Hmm.
still around, but I started learning, just consuming content on wholesaling and going through the whole YouTube university,
Hmm.
which was very interesting, and just kind of trial and error, just a lot of education without doing any deals yet. Eventually, April 1st, I did, within a week, we decided to move. We just grabbed everything. Literally, I had like negative $200 in my pocket because before that, I was literally spending more than I was making. So
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about money management. I knew how to make money. I just didn't know how to
Hmm.
manage it. Okay. And if I didn't know how to manage it, I didn't know how to keep it, and I didn't know how to multiply it. Right. So basically, I get that was a lesson, and that's what I did. And I moved to Florida. I landed
Hmm.
in Florida. I still have my mother in Florida. So I did, 2 hours before I got to Florida, when I was driving my car, my buddy was driving his car. He even had to give me money to freaking put gas on my BMW that
Hmm.
I couldn't afford at the time,
Right.
because I was doing so bad, you know what I mean? And I was out of focus, and, but he helped me out. So he had a lot to do with my success. So basically, we got to my mother's house. So we stayed there. As soon as we got to my mother's house in Orlando, thank God she lived in Orlando. She was like, I was like, Mom, I'm like 2 hours away. And basically, I'm with my buddy, you know what I mean, from my childhood friend. And he's like, okay, no problem. You guys can come over. So we were there literally the next day. We just started, we downloaded the Meetup app, and we just started to just booking appointments. Like, nobody's telling us to do this. We literally,
Yeah.
we were working out of urgency, right?
Hmm.
And we were like, okay, we got to make some money. We got to succeed. My boy had a child already. He had a wife, and like basically we moved here, and like we either had to make it happen or had to make it happen. Like there was no choice, right? So it's like literally somebody putting a gun to your head and
Hmm.
telling you 24 hours to get this done, or I will shoot. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
kind of urgency we had. It was like very demanding, aggressive urgency. And we're from New York. We're very aggressive people, right?
Mhm.
Where we come from an aggressive background, especially sales, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
basically, I
Especially
get to
rental
Florida,
sales in Queens.
and
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to become successful, right?
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. So basically, we did that. So we started booking a whole bunch of meetup. We on the meetup app, we started just meeting a lot of people. I remember this one time we went to Tampa, and this is when it gets interesting. We go to Tampa to a meetup, where real estate investors and stuff, and learning about wholesaling and stuff like that. And one guy says, "Hey, I know somebody in Orlando. He's a private money lender,
Hmm.
and I want to hook you guys up because you guys have the energy and you guys look like you guys want to succeed, et cetera, et cetera." And these guys were already doing wholesaling and flipping houses, and we wanted to just get into the space. And then basically we were connected to this guy, um, and we started working for this guy immediately after we met him. And he put some other guy to interview us, and basically we eventually walked into the office. And as soon as we walked into the office, we were like, "What's going on here?" We're like, "Where's the salespeople?" Right?
Mhm.
But somehow they were doing deals, and I was like, "Okay." So
Mhm.
we went directly to the owner, and basically we said, "Hey, you know what? We want to add value. We want to work, and what is it that we need to do to get our first deal?" So they recommended we actually go and throw out bandit signs, right? So to
Okay.
generate leads, but their goal was not wholesaling. They were not wholesaling. The guy was a private
Mhm.
money lender. Their interest was to basically for us to find investors who want to leverage and who want to use their services to do the hard money
Mhm.
lending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's basically flip loans and some short term rental loans. But we were mainly focused on the flip loans and the fix and flip loans. This was 2018. The market was hot.
Yeah.
Basically, I basically convinced the guy to basically buy 400, 600 bandit signs a week, and this guy
Mhm.
was investing. He was like, "Okay, cool, let's just do it." So me and my buddy were going out putting bandit signs. Within the first week, my buddy picked up a buyer, and we said, "Hey, listen, if we pick up a deal, whoever picks up the deal first, we'll just split 50-50 on the commission because we came here together. Let's just do this together." So
Sure.
my buddy found somebody, and basically we got a deal done within a week. So we got our first deal
Yeah.
within a week, not knowing anything about wholesaling. But the pay was like $4,000. We couldn't even survive out of that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we were already negative, and it was just like eventually my buddy was like, you know what? We worked there and we started bringing value to the company and getting loans and getting on the phones and just like kind of working harder than everybody else. If everybody was coming in at let's say 9 o'clock, we would try to be there like at 8 o'clock and stay
Yeah.
there till later. And literally, the guy gave us a space in the office, and we just started hustling, man, just trial and error, just grinding, and
So, so you guys were putting out those signs to source deals
generate
and then
investors,
generate.
generate
Okay.
investors who are looking to buy deals,
Okay.
use the hard money. So it was a
Got
great
it.
way to generate cash buyers.
So it was like a sign that said like hard money loans or something, or private money loans, or
Yeah,
like what?
basically. Oh, well, exactly what we wrote on the signs. They didn't tell us how to do it. We had to figure it out, and kind of the way we thought about figuring it out, it worked. So I was doing things like investor-friendly loans,
Yeah.
cheap rates,
Yeah.
and the number on the top, always on the top with the high stands. And basically,
Yeah.
what we would do, my buddy and I, we said, you know what? There's no traffic at night, and let's just go doing between 12 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So
Yeah.
we were going out and throwing them all over. I'm talking about Jacksonville, South Florida,
Wow.
Central Florida, all over the place, just grinding. You understand?
Yeah.
Grinding. And basically, the phone started ringing.
Yeah.
The next day, we threw all the bandit signs within 6 o'clock in the morning. Boom, 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 boom. The numbers would start coming in. And we were like, yes, hello, yeah, I'm calling about the investor loans. I'm like, yeah, what's your experience? And then we started qualifying them and then asking them, hey, have you used leverage before, et cetera, et cetera. So we started building a buyer's list.
Okay.
The visionary of the private money, he saw what we were doing, and eventually, he even when we got the first deal after the first week, he even put us in front of the office, and hey, he kind of glorified us and said, guys, this is how you got to work like this. So
Yeah.
we became an example for the people that were already there within a
Yeah.
week and a half, right?
And that first
Because
deal was that first deal was a loan. Someone called in and then they took a loan
no,
from you guys.
it was a deal. Interesting. It was not just a loan. So we did the
Okay.
loan and we did the wholesale, because he actually had a deal we were selling. So we actually sold the deal and
Yeah.
also got the hard money loan for him. So it was a double dip, but we ended
How,
up making like 4 grand, like 2 grand each.
how'd you find the deal?
So the deal came from them, from the private money lender. They actually had
From
the
the
deal.
lender. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That specific scenario was like they had the deal.
Got
And
it.
eventually we did a little bit more of those and stuff. But eventually my buddy left. I stayed there, and so many things happened after that. So 2019, I stayed with them. My buddy had left already to start wholesaling, right?
Okay.
And he actually, ventured out, and I stayed there. right? And I
Mhm.
said, there's opportunity here. There's so much I can learn. Eventually, one day, I started, I went out, put bandit signs, and an investor calls me. And I said, wow, this is a hustle. Like, I'm not getting, as many loans as I want to. I'm getting a couple a month. I need to find an investor who's doing 10, 20 deals a month and who's
Mhm.
ready to partner up with us so we can do the loans for him.
Mhm.
That way I can make money.
Yeah.
That's the only way. I need to find a guy that's doing volume, right?
Mhm.
I did that and I found a guy in South Florida, right? Immediately, this guy coming in with, he even came, try to come into the office to renegotiate the rates and terms. Your typical 12-month term, no prepayment,
Yep.
under 1% per month, 1 or 2 points up front. And basically, I did that and I started becoming like a top producer. My
Mhm.
board was just like 15, 20 loans every month. And it was
Wow.
just like, as soon as that happened, I was like, wow, I can build a massive buyers list like this. But long story short, I ended up leaving that place because
Mhm.
I wasn't happy with the pay. I
Mm.
felt like, wait, I'm generating all these loans. I bring in the investor. Why am I getting paid like two, 300, $400 per deal?
Oh,
So
for
I
loan.
felt undervalued. I
Wow.
felt
Okay.
undervalued.
Yeah.
And then eventually that was around the same time that I, found the love of my life, right?
Mhm.
And we got together and we were still down. I was making some money, enough to pay the bills. And this was already 2019. And then the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
And then the pandemic hit. Eventually, after that, I stopped wholesaling and got into network marketing with the girl I was with. We moved in together and got
Okay.
into network marketing with a company called Manat. And
Okay.
then and what they do is they sell all types of facial products. And it was so popular in 2019, 2020.
Mhm.
And my girl at the time was pregnant. We found out she was pregnant. I had a baby on the way. I needed money. I was working again with urgency.
Yeah.
And basically, long story short, uh, we started doing, six, seven, eight, nine, $10,000 a month with this company, Manat, that I switched my focus. This was all during the pandemic. Like
Mhm.
nobody could go outside. Like I have a whole pandemic baby, but
Mhm.
it's basically that's what we did. So I stopped the
Yeah.
wholesaling for a second. I mean, to try to get into wholesaling actually, because I was working with a private money lender, and then I got into this network marketing space, and then I was teaching the girl I was with um, how to sell and how to build teams, et cetera, et cetera. And we were already building a massive team
Mhm.
nationwide that she ranked up quickly
Mhm.
and in the network marketing space. And then basically it slowed down. And I
Mhm.
said, you know what? Now I officially want to get into wholesaling.
Okay.
So the pandemic, then 2021 came, and then I was like, you know what? I can't do this. This is not my passion. She kept doing that.
Mhm.
2021, and basically, what we did is I said, you know what? I'm starting my own wholesaling company. Like I
Mhm.
got to get into wholesaling. I haven't had the time to actually dedicate to start doing this.
Mhm.
So my strategy was very simple, right? I went on ListSource. I picked up a list, and I started cold calling. And I
Yeah.
started cold calling from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. No
Wow.
mentors, straight YouTube University.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, my wife was pregnant, so there was urgency there. And basically, I started doing that Monday through Saturday and sometimes Sunday. Like no
Wow.
time to hang out, no time to do anything. I had to do it or do it. Right.
Yeah.
Eventually, I got my first deal. I made $12,000 on my first deal. I remember it was in Apopka, Florida, and I was so happy. I got my
Yeah.
first deal, and then I said, "Okay, great! Now I got my first deal after months.
I was gonna say,
After
how
months,
long? How long?
yeah, it was like 7 months,
Wow.
six,
Six,
seven
seven months
months. No.
cold calling, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, like
Wow.
working like a madman, like a
Yeah.
robot, right?
Yeah.
Like a robot, like with everybody telling me, hey, you should get a job, you should stop doing this, you should, all
Mhm.
the negativity around me. Even my girl was like, yo, we should you should do something else. Maybe this is not for you. family was, coming to me and telling me it's not going to work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the negativity, but I was focused. I was laser focused because I knew that if another man could do it, I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually got my first deal, second deal, and then I started wholesaling, right?
Yeah.
Good. I got out, I paid debt. And like towards the end of 2021, I said, you know what? Let me put a team together. Let me put a team together. So I started focusing on finding talent.
So how many
So
deals had you done by the time you decided to put a team together by the
a
end of
team
20?
together, probably at the time already over 25.
Okay. So you had some experience by that point.
Yeah, I was
And you were
doing
a one-man show to that
doing
point.
deals
No,
already. And
no one.
yes, so I was doing already a bunch of deals. And remember, I already had a strong buyers list.
Right.
So a lot of new wholesalers were coming to me so I can sell their deals.
Gotcha.
So that counted on the 25 as well. I probably did a little bit over that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I was doing that. And I was still doing loans, by the way. So I started contacting other private money lenders and hard money lenders. So a lot of the deals that I was selling them, I was wholesaling them and doing the loan for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, double dipping a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was double dipping. I gotta, I was doing that and it worked. And then towards the end of 2021, I started actually mid 2021, if I'm not mistaken. I started, hiring some people, and then they were working for me and it wasn't working and they were complaining and I just didn't know how to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I set I set myself to find the right people.
Yeah.
And in the end of 2021, I eventually had my guy who's with me. His name is Hector Barrios. He's my head of acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, this guy's a childhood friend. Over 20 years of relationship with him since New York. He
Mm-hmm.
had a whole different lifestyle before this, but I had a meet with him, and I said, you know what, we should get together and we should do this. And I dedicated myself to him about 90 days just to train him, literally how to talk to a lead, how to close a deal, how to do this, how to do that. And the guy gave me his time. So
Mm-hmm.
he was bringing so much value, so much value. He was putting in the work with no complaint. So I was like, this guy's a stud. This guy's a
Yeah.
stud. I see what I was doing is what he is doing when he first started, and he's just starting, except that I'm guiding him and I'm already teaching him based out of experience. And
What?
basically, yeah, that's that.
So you had hired some people before that, and they
Hmm.
didn't work out, and I think that's like a helpful lesson for some people to take away, right? A lot of us make I've made bad hires before. Why do you think they were a bad hire, and like what did you learn so that you won't make that mistake again?
Great question. So when I hired these people, I should have set better expectations. Okay.
Okay.
And some people, they're new to real estate and they think they're going to get rich quick. So they think they come in with, I don't hire people that come in with an entitlement mentality,
Mm,
right? Especially if they had a 9 to 5 before and they just new to real estate, and basically they think they're going to become rich overnight. And yes, you can become wealthy in real estate, but it's going to take some time and dedication and hard work,
mm,
right? So I fixed that issue, and I'll share with you guys what I created to fix that issue when hiring people.
mm,
um, so basically I did that. By the end of 2021, I had a team, and I said, um, for 2022 I'm going to make $1 million
yeah.
no matter what. So that was my vision, that was my mission, because I had a good team. And we started in January. January was a little slower, but then when it came to February of 2022, I think we closed, I don't know, 60, $70,000 worth of wholesale deals. Then
Yeah.
the next month we doubled it, and then the following month we doubled it, and we just kept going up. We kept going up until
Wow.
we hit quarter three. It slowed down a little bit, and then now quarter four. And I also started flipping houses, right?
Okay.
And maybe I didn't have that in 2021. I was already, fixing flipping properties.
Yeah.
And I was doing that by myself. And eventually I realized that if I'm going to make $1 million, I could also take down some of these deals. But I want to be focused on the wholesaling business. So what I
Mm,
did is, hey, I know how to raise capital. I know how to talk to investors. Let me find the right investors to partner up with so I can assign the deal to them
Hmm.
at cost. So, for example, if I picked up a property for $310,000 under
Yep.
contract, right, direct to seller, I can assign it to an investor who wants to partner up with me because we could resell it for 450,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And basically give it to him at cost, assign it to him at zero assignment fee,
Yep.
and partner up with him 50-50. You put the money, you handle the contractors, and we split 50-50 out of the net proceeds. You know what I mean? At that, by me doing that, I was able to do several fix and flips and, make probably a little bit over $400,000 just on fix and flips
Right.
with different money partners, right?
Right.
And then another probably 600, 700,000 in wholesale assignments.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically what I did. I was using other people's money, other
Hmm.
people's time, but I was bringing deals that were bringing in 100, 120, $130,000 profits and
Yeah.
splitting 50-50 with the investors. They
Hmm.
handle they put their name with leveraging the hard money,
Hmm.
and basically they will put their time and dedication to manage the contractors. I would just give them the deal at cost, and
Yep.
I'm hence.
Yeah.
So now I'm buying time as an
Yeah.
investor. I realized in 2022, mid 22, that hey, I need to focus more on buying time. How do I
Yeah.
buy more time? So I
Yeah.
can't be managing contractors and building a wholesale company. I'm going to go crazy. So the
Yeah.
best way to do is to find partners, strategic partners,
Yeah.
to make more money, and that's what I've been doing.
How did you go about selecting the right partners to work with?
Okay, that's a great question. But the way I found partners is because a lot of these buyers that I was speaking to, I
Hmm.
was taking them out for coffee.
Hmm.
I was building better and deeper relationships with them and understanding where they're going and how it matches my vision. And I said, okay, then that's the way to find these people. Actually
Hmm.
create a better relationship than just selling them the deals. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think you don't need a massive buyers list. You just need 10 good buyers.
Yeah.
You just need 10 good buyers, and then you do several deals with them. They're buying some of these deals that when you come to them and hey, you want to partner up with me? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes
Sure.
because you're already bringing them value
Yeah.
and they're already buying deals from you and they're already making money. And all my investors that ever purchased from me they made money. So
Right.
it's easier for me to come back to them and say, hey, you want to partner up with me? You put the money, I'll give you the deal at cost, and it has to be over $100,000 profit.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. So I had 2, 3 investors like that I partner
Okay.
up with, and I was giving them deals at cost.
Got it. And then
Yeah.
earlier you said you fixed you did something that you said you would share to fix that hiring issue. Can you share with the audience what you changed about your hiring process?
Absolutely. So I created something called the 90-day Leon Enterprises Challenge, internship
Okay.
challenge. And that's very simple, right? When you become a real estate agent, you don't get a
Hmm.
salary, right? You have to close something, you have to sell something to get paid, right? You don't get paid for the time you put in. Nobody cares about the time you spend doing something. They care about the results,
Yeah.
right? So basically, that's what I did. I created a 90-day challenge. Anybody want to work for me? Great. A lot of people come and they talk a big game. They come into me and they're like, hey, I want to do this. I've done sales. I've done this. I've done that. Great. Give me 90 days for free. Within those 90 days, right, I'm able to determine if they have what it takes to make it in real estate.
Yeah.
If I did 6, 7, 8 months cold calling by myself and I got a deal, why can't you do it?
Yeah.
Right? Why can't you do it? You have to number one, think big, actually think
Mhm.
huge, right? And Elon Musk has a quote and he says, hey, if you can do your 10-year goal in 6 months, you might be a lot closer than what you think by the end of the 6 months. Or you know what I mean? It's basically, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna achieve the 10 years, the 10-year goal in 6 months, but you're gonna be a lot closer than what you think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So thinking big is huge for me. And manifestation and my imagination is just wild, and basically I live off that. I do believe in the law of attraction and I do believe in the law of action and all these universal laws. But at the end of the day is, are you putting in the work? Are you really putting in the work?
Yeah.
And basically that's it. So back to the 90 days to answer your
Yeah.
question, give me 90 days of your time within those
Mhm.
90-day period. If I see first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you start complaining, you're not for me.
Yeah.
You're just not for me, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have what it takes. Real
Yeah.
estate is a lifestyle. It's for people with thick skin. If you
Yeah.
don't have that and you think, it's going to be rainbows and sunshines, like it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
That's why the people that I have under my team right now, they're solid. I think they're A++ players.
So how does that work, right? So it's a 90-day challenge, right? But like, where do these people come from? Are they just from referrals or social media? How do you find
I'll
it?
tell you exactly everybody that I hired. So my guy, I know him for 20 years.
Yeah.
He was in the streets before this, right?
Uh-huh.
He was in the streets. I gave him an opportunity. Hey, come out of the street. You're flipping things in the street. You can
Yeah.
come and do the same thing legally. So I didn't have to explain work ethic to him. He understood. He
Yeah.
understood what he needed to do. So he already had that. So that's why
Yeah.
he's a stud right now. He's one of the leader, probably the main leader of the company, right?
Yeah.
After me. And basically, okay, the next person, my executive assistant. I know
Uh-huh.
her for about, I don't know, 13 years or more.
Hmm.
She was already my assistant as a real estate agent when we were in New York.
Okay.
I already knew. And then basically she just moved here from New York about a month and a half ago. Now she's my full time. She manages my schedule. Her name is Soul Mary. She works. She manages my schedule. She does TC. So I put a lot of hats in her to see where she shines the most. So she
Yeah.
does TC work and she also manages the SMS campaigns.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And she's a cold caller. And they all passed the 90-day challenge, by the way.
Mm. Okay.
Mhm. And then
So
I have
how?
my distribution manager.
Okay.
Same thing. He went through
Yeah.
the 90 days. He never complained. So he became the disposition manager. And recently, I took him down from this position and made him our full time underwriter because that's where he
Mm.
shined the most. He was underwriting deals and he was dispoing deals. Yes, he was dispoing deals, but I felt that he was stronger underwriting deals. Now he's happy to be a full time underwriter. So
Yeah.
my acquisition managers do not underwrite anything. They basically, the underwriter handles that. I delegate that to somebody else so they could save time and focus more on making offers.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up because that's actually something we're working on now, which is, you know, having our admin team handle the underwriting, right? I don't acquisition guys should be on the phone selling, right? So did he teach himself how to do it, or you kind of showed him the ropes, or how'd you set that up with him?
So before I became an operator, I wore every single hat in the company. I was a
Okay.
transaction coordinator, I was a disposition manager, I was an acquisition manager, I was an admin, I was everything. I was literally everything. So how can I teach somebody to be a transaction coordinator if I never did it? How can I
Sure.
teach somebody if to be an acquisition manager if I never did it? So I
Yeah.
did every single position. So I was able to teach it to them, and I was able to understand that I got to teach them the basics, and then they do their own research and they become the best at that.
Sure. You give them the
So
groundwork.
now they're better than me.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
How many people have failed the 90-day challenge?
I would say 10.
10. Okay. And is this a thing where like you let anyone try it, or you have pre-qualifications to even allow them to give it a shot?
Yes. So if I meet someone and say, "Hey, I want to get into real estate," I say, "Great. What are you doing right now? What have you done?" I Number one, I do not hire entrepreneurs. Right? I ask them and
Mhm.
I go through a series of questions to find out they're entrepreneurs. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be an operator, then build your own team. You're not just going to come here, work for me, learn systems, processes, take take out of my time and basically try to open a company right after. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna determine that first, right?
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're gonna sign a non-compete with me for the next 3 to 4 years.
Hmm.
And basically, if that's okay with you, then we can move forward.
Yeah.
The next thing, I don't wanna hire operators. If you want to be an operator, go ahead. There's YouTube, there's masterminds, there's courses you could join and try to figure out yourself. I have unique unique systems, unique processes that I put together myself, and I work very hard to get.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm not gonna come and teach you free game, so you can go and open your own operation. So I want to make sure that they align to the vision and the mission that I have, and that's how I hire people.
I got you. And then, what are you guys doing on the lead generation side? Because you guys are in. Well, you can talk about that too. The different
Sure,
areas, markets that you're in.
sure. So we're in Florida, Georgia, New Jersey, Ohio, and I didn't mention that, but you see how my team actually. Are we still there?
You're good.
Okay, I didn't see you. My team is actually doing deals. By the way, I do my own personal deals. So I sell on my own time other people's deals as well. But yes, to answer your question, my team handles deals, that I have no involvement on. Literally, transaction coordination, acquisition, disposition, I have zero involvement on. Title company, they handle everything. It's completely delegated. But I
Yeah.
also have my personal deals that I do
Mm, okay.
every single month. I have I do interviews with different wholesalers, specifically new wholesalers that don't have buyers, and
Uh
I
huh.
sell their deals
Got it. Because you
within
have the
seconds.
strong buyers
I don't
base
even need
from.
to get in a conversation anymore. Like they have a deal, I run the numbers, I make sure the numbers make sense, and I send it to my elite VIP buyers. They'll just pick up the deal if it makes sense right away.
Yeah.
So I do a couple of those a month as well on the side, besides what my company is doing.
Got it. And
Mhm.
then, in terms of marketing, what are you guys doing to generate the leads to do all these deals every month?
Absolutely. So I have a call center in Colombia.
Okay.
So I have another leader in Colombia who handles all the lead generation for me. And our goal is to get to 25 to 30 cold callers by the end of by mid 2023.
Wow. And is
Yes.
that an in-person operation in Colombia, an office,
No,
or
no. So we're 100% virtual.
100%
Everybody
virtual?
works from home.
Okay.
And the
And
just to add to what you're saying, the way we keep them accountable is very simple.
mhm,
Yeah, accountability is very important, and leadership. So we teach a lot of servant leadership, right?
mhm,
We have usually one person that I train myself, and I help him develop the leader within him. First of all, I find out if he's a natural leader or he needs to learn to become a leader, and I need to teach him
mhm.
certain things to become a better leader, and then basically he manages the people
Okay.
manages the people and comes back to me with a report every single day. So my guys were working yesterday and they were working today, half a day.
Yeah. Your guys are cold calling on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, and
How'd
we
that go?
generated leads. And we generated two hot leads yesterday and another two hot leads today. Just working until 2 p.m. Because everybody
Yeah.
tells you, right? Don't
Yeah.
work on holidays. Hey, people are home. If you're
Yeah.
distressed and you want to cash offer, you're gonna pick up. And
Yeah.
in worst case scenario, a lot of the people say, "Hey, it's holidays. Can you call me on Monday? I am interested,
Yeah.
but call me on Monday." And you'll
Yeah.
be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. We were calling during the hurricane. People were like, are you going to call during the hurricane? I was like, everyone's home. Probably the best time to call all year. Like no one's at
Yeah.
work.
Everybody's
Um,
home. Yeah.
so how many people are on the Colombian cold calling team right now?
So right now we have about 15.
Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
And do you guys have any particular strategy? Are you just kind of calling everyone who's owned for more than a certain amount of years? Are you targeting certain lists or?
Yeah. So we target everything. Tax delinquent,
Mhm.
um, people that are defaulting on their mortgage. We have everything. Absentee owners and people that do like have inquired online and they wanted a cash offer within the last 90 days. So we target everything right now.
You say they inquired online.
In driving for dollar leads as well.
So you said they inquired online, like on your website, or is that some kind of list you get from somewhere where?
So basically, I also have a data scientist on my team.
Okay.
Yeah, so my data scientist pretty much he has a way of actually gather people who have inquired online or went on Google and searched for they want a cash offer, and I get that list, and then we contact these people, and a lot of these leads are pretty good.
And they have that has phone numbers on it, or you just get their addresses and then you skip trace them, or how does that work?
Yeah, a lot of these leads already have their phone numbers because they are inquired. They put their email and their phone number.
Wow, cool. And
Yeah.
then, are you calling those pretty specific lists, or are you guys going a little wider too? I know a lot of people just like call all absentee owners, or are you staying with those? They got to be on one of these, you know, 6 or 7 lists.
So I can give you guys some tips of what I'm doing. I don't use predictive dialers.
You don't? Okay.
I don't use predictive dialers. Yes,
Okay.
I don't. We hand dial them one by one, and by doing that, we're generating each cold caller is generating between 8 to 12 leads a day. And then when we have a hot lead, and that's somebody who's interested in a cash offer. And recently we just got into creative finance. We started doing creative finance. We started with a cash offer, and then if they don't want a cash offer, they think it's too low of an offer, then we are seeing success in switching them into seller finance or subject twos
Yeah. So did you say every caller is generating 8 to 12 leads a day?
a day.
That's
Every
incredible.
caller needs to make every cold caller has to make 200 calls a day, and half a day they had to make 100 calls a day.
Right. But that's a
Yeah, so
lot. I mean, 8 to 12 leads a
200
week
calls,
is incredible.
yeah, so 200
Hey,
calls a day is generating 8 to 12 leads a day per call.
wow. So that's interesting that you say that you don't use a predictive dialer, because 95, 98, 9% of the industry is all about, hey, get everyone on predictive dialer. Why did you choose to single dial?
Because I like simplicity, right? And basically, I also understand that when I used predictive dialers before, we had a big issue with scam likely numbers.
Huh.
I think it was with you that explained to me that you basically could fix that.
Yeah,
So we can talk about that after. But basically, I saw that as a big issue, and I was being charged so much for these dialers, especially when you have you know 6, 7, 8, 10 people on the line with ready mode or with cold tools, and
mhm.
there's still people complaining about scam likely numbers, and the bill would be sometimes thousands of dollars just for switching numbers, hundreds. It was too expensive, and I was just like, why am I paying so much? I can tell you guys the software I use a software called Open Phone.
Called open phone. You said? Okay.
Yeah, Open Phone.
And so, is there any particular tactic you guys use when single dialing, besides like just
Yeah,
actually dialing people?
no, it's basically they have a pitch. They have a pitch. We're calling you for my boss is interested in buying your property, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And we at the end of the pitch, we basically go into, hey, if a cash offer does not make sense, would you be open to selling your property on terms? So we immediately plant the seed at the beginning, but they call themselves qualifying specialists. Hey,
Mm,
when they're also make me the offer, oh, well, what are the terms? Hey, by the way, I'm a qualifying specialist, but once you speak to my home buying specialist, that the home buying specialist is going to give you the cash offer. But if that doesn't work, then we'll transfer you to speak to our creative specialist or
got
term
it.
specialist. Yeah, so we always
Cold
have
caller is asking the
names
question.
for the specialist. Yeah, so my guy Hector Barrios, he's not doing any creative closings, but I do have a partner who's a master at it, who already has a portfolio, right?
Hmm.
um, Short-term rentals. He knows, he's an agent, and he knows how to speak to these people. He's just a master at negotiating creative deals. When we have a short sale, for example, if we have a
Yeah.
short sale lead that comes in, I have a partner for that. If we have a loan
Yeah.
modification, I have a partner for that. If we have a deed in lieu situation, I have a partner for that. So
Right.
that's what I do as an operator. I'm always networking, and you always see me like at events, networking with people and finding who my next strategic partner is while my
Right.
company is running. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing the most. Networking
Right.
with people and connecting with people, finding out what their strengths and weaknesses are, so we can exchange and add value. So, for example, the guy I met today, I'm in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm in Puerto Rico for the week, and basically I'm on Instagram, and somebody messages me on Instagram and says, "Hey, dude, I see that you're in Puerto Rico. I'm probably like 15 minutes away from where you are. I'm a wholesaler and investor nationwide. Um, let me go and pick you up." The guy came to pick me up in the morning. We went to have breakfast, and
Hmm.
the dude is a master at PPC, and he's killing it with
Yeah.
novations and PPC. So I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. I want to get
Hmm.
into that as well. How can we partner up? So now we
Right.
have a second conversation with him sometime next week on how we're going to be working with each other.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, that's what I enjoy doing. That's what I connecting with other operators and saying, okay, what do you lack, and how can I add value? That's what I
Hmm.
do. And my
Yeah.
team is executing. We stay very accountable, and we're here to develop leaders. I
Yeah.
love finding people. Going back to kind of your initial question on how you find people. So my thing with finding people is I have to see your talent before you see it yourself. And my
Mm.
job is just to basically help you develop that talent, right? And make sure you work in harmony with my team players or with my leaders,
Yeah.
right? And I don't keep people as employees. Eventually, these guys that are working with me, these guys are going to be equity stake partners in the company. They're going to own a piece of the company because eventually they're going to run it themselves.
Hmm.
That's what we're doing. That's why they're working for. You understand?
Right.
That's how I can secure. People are looking for IRAs and 401ks and pensions and stuff like that. This is how I can secure them. We build
Yeah.
something together, a well-oiled machine that is going to eventually help you retire and help you, take care of your family.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how many salespeople do you have in house now? Because I mean, you're generating 8 to 12 leads a day, 15 cold callers. That's a lot of leads to handle coming
Yeah.
through.
So my acquisition manager is super busy, super
Yeah.
busy, super busy. But again, he's not running numbers. He's just coming in to close. So he has an acquisition pipeline
Yeah.
for all the cash deals. He also has an acquisition pipeline with all the creative deals. So he's
Okay.
only the acquisition pipeline just needs to grow,
Hmm.
grow. Stay with over 100 people, and these are 100 people that are ready for an offer. Who, but when he calls, they already know who he is. They know his name.
Mm. Okay.
His name. You understand? And it's just a matter of, hey, I'm not selling right now, but call me after January. And he calls them on January, and then he follows up with them. Some of these deals that we've closed, he probably made over 15 to 20 calls or
Oh yeah.
attempts to
Yeah.
get these people, and he's closing them, and they remember them. And a lot of them were double dipping. They're coming with one or two properties. Hey, I also want to sell this other property. I also want to do this. Hey, I want to get cash offer for this one, but I want to do a seller finance with this one.
So, is the team in Colombia also kind of handling almost lead management, like following up with people who aren't quite ready yet, or does that all fall on the acquisitions guy?
No, so I have my executive assistant, right? My
Okay.
executive assistant is overseeing the leader of the call center and making sure that he's delivering every single day, every single day.
Yeah.
And they have quotas, and they have 3 strikes. So basically, if one of my cold callers is generating leads and they don't generate over 200 calls, then let's say they get to 199, they get a
Yeah.
strike.
Hmm.
That's strike number one. Then they get strike number two if they do 198 the next day, and then strike number three, they're fired.
3 days, is that 3 days in a row, or just 3 days ever?
Yeah, so basically it's per day, right? If they do under 200 calls 3 days in a row, they're fired.
Yeah.
I don't care how good they are. They
Yeah.
have to meet the 200 calls a day. It's just a number. Just like
Yeah.
my acquisition manager, he has to make 55 calls a day.
Yeah.
55 is the number, nothing less. Now, if you want to do more than 55, he usually does.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
basically 55 acquisition only calls.
Yeah.
And my job is just to make sure that my executive assistant comes to me with a report every day. with the KPIs and say, okay, everybody's performing at their peak. Oh, this week we didn't do good. Oh, we didn't do good. Why? Now I want to do a meeting on it. Why didn't we do good? So I go deep into, instead of putting a patch on it, to fixing
Yeah.
the issue immediately with the person who's handling the department.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's the way I do it.
But is the acquisition guy then having to, because if there's that many leads coming in, like I think you said 8 or 12 per day per agent times 15, it's a lot. It's probably 100 and something,
Well, let
120.
me explain. It's a
Yeah.
great question. So we have something called the code red. Out of those
Mm.
12 leads, let's say, maybe one of them is a code red.
Okay. What's a code red?
What's a code red? A code red is basically they need an offer, they're below market value, they're ready to sell under 30 or 60 days. That's a code red.
Okay.
The lead came in, they won 300,000. Everybody went on the cold callers went on Zillow, and it's worth 398. And they want an offer and they want to get out within the last, that's code red. So he calls the code red. Anybody
Got it.
that's not a code red, maybe another one is a open to terms deal. So there's two deals. There's two people that he needs to call out of there. So basically that's how it works. The rest, they're leads, but they're market value leads. They're not interested in terms. And they go into another list called call after market crashes.
I like the name of that list.
Basically, yeah. Go to another list says call after the market crashes, because they want above retail or retail, and they're not open to terms, and they want a cash offer at above market value. So we don't pay attention to these leads, but we don't throw them. We grab them, and they go into another list called call after market crashes.
Yeah.
Hey, John. Yeah, we spoke to you last year in 2022, and it's mid 2023, and I know you wanted 400,000 for your property, but the market has changed. Are you still interested in getting a cash offer? Yeah, well, I'll take 350. Still tight, but let me see what I can do. But then he's more open, because while the media is selling fear, we're selling hope.
Right.
It's basically, that's what we're doing. So basically, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Do those not get, they just get put in there and they just don't get touched at all for now, or the cold callers call back through them and see if something changed?
So we have, every lead goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Every single lead goes somewhere. So we have different spreadsheets. And every spreadsheet, so we have thousands of leads in certain spreadsheets. But depending on where the market is, we're going into a downturn. So during the downturn, what we're doing is, I have another guy in investor relations. All he's doing is raising capital. He's raising capital, and he's building relationships with buyers, and we're doing reverse wholesaling. Basically, hey, you're willing to pay 250 in this area in Orlando, even if it needs $15,000 to $20,000 of renovation, you're still willing to pay 250 no matter what. Great. So all we need to do is get it at 230.
Yeah.
And they'll buy it. So that's what the investor relations / disposition manager is going to be doing. And it's already doing, but eventually that guy is going to be the full-time underwriter. So I'm getting another guy to kind of take on that position, which is going to be huge in 2023 and 2024.
Right. So he's talking to other investors who are your buyers, and then he's kind of going through that list of people and saying, hey, does anything match what they're looking for that they would definitely buy? Okay.
Exactly. And kind of, that's what we're doing, building relationships. I think the downturn, everybody makes money in a bull run.
Yeah.
You understand? And let's see who makes money in a bear market. I think a lot of people, a lot of wholesalers, no disrespect to any wholesalers or real estate agents or investors, a lot of them are going to be caught with their pens down. You understand? They're not prepared. Everybody was making money, and the Lamborghinis here and the Rolexes and this and that. Let me see how you do in a down market.
Yeah.
Let me see how you pivot in this market. I think this is a market where you have to save your money for a rainy day. I really believe that.
Yeah.
You have to decrease your spending, and you have to humble yourself a little bit more. And this comes from people with gray hair who have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years.
Sure.
You understand? Slow down. In 2007, people who were over leveraged not crushed. You understand? Right now, you don't want to be over leveraged. You don't want to have 15, 20 properties fix and flips on the market. You're struggling right now to sell them.
For sure.
I
Yeah.
just lost $15,000 on a deal that I thought I was going to make $100,000. I ended up losing $15,000,
Yeah.
and thank God I'm not taking any more fix and flips because it's the wrong time to get into fix and flips right now. You don't want to
Yeah.
do that unless you could turn them into a rental.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, um, how did you find this guy who runs the cold call team in Colombia for you, and how is he sourcing all this talent? I mean, I know we're looking for cold callers now, and we're very picky about who we hire, but it's hard to find 15 people. I mean, we're trying to scale up to 5 or 6, and it proves difficult to find good ones.
Great question. So I was working with a call center, and I had a guy uh, in Cartagena managing a call center with me, and then eventually it didn't work out.
Hmm.
The guy was not paying his people, and that I was paying him and he was not paying his people, so he was mismanaging them, in my opinion. He's a good
Yeah.
guy, but it just he was not accountable with them. He was these people were struggling to get paid, etc. So eventually what I did is I found someone else that I met when I traveled to Colombia. I was recently there,
Hmm.
and basically I was networking, and eventually one guy led to another, and they were able to connect me to a guy with experience, and I was able to start building a new team with him. And I was just like, the guy's full time, like the guy left school, you know what I mean, to basically do this full time. And basically he's on my payroll, and he's doing very well, for every I can tell you, my guys, I pay my guy $500, and over there in Colombia, that's pretty good money. That's
Hmm.
monthly, not weekly,
Right.
by the way.
Right.
Yes, plus bonuses, plus incentives,
Sure.
and all he
And
needs
then,
to be doing is recruiting. Recruiting. He's getting paid $500 to recruit all day. I don't care where
okay.
you go, what you got to do, just bring me the results. And he's been performing, 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 and keeping the cold callers accountable.
Right. So he's just sourcing people. Where does he source people in general? You don't even know. You just say go out there
So
and go do it, and he's
everywhere. So everywhere in Colombia, Bogota, Medellin, uh, Cartagena, which is Cartagena, Colombia. But now we're basically sourcing people in Mexico, in Brazil,
wow.
in Bolivia, in Venezuela, and stuff like that. And the demand is huge. The
Yeah.
demand is huge. And now there's companies who will charge you, but I don't want to hire a third party company because
Yeah.
I don't trust people with my data. You understand? I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
trust people with my data. So basically, I basically want to have everything in house.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
what methods are you using to find all these people? Like, are you posting on job sites, or are they doing like
Oh
active?
yeah. So basically, my guy, I have a meeting with him once a week, once or twice a week, and what he's doing right now, he would basically, wear a shirt that says, "Hey, do you speak English?" And he will put himself in a place where there's people working cafeterias, and he'll go in, and then somebody will make a joke about it, and he'll start a conversation. So that's an
What?
immediate attention grabber. And then, well, you speak English, I speak English. What do you do? What do you do? Boom, one thing leads to another, and just this coming week we have another 3 interviews just based out of that strategy. So
So very much on the ground,
on the ground, on the
building a
ground,
book.
and also connecting with people on social media,
Mm,
flyers, and then just talking to people that are in schools, and them going to schools, and having conversations with people who probably are studying English.
right. Right.
And also people that are deported, right? Some people got
Sure.
deported from the United States for whatever they did. It's none of my problem, but they speak English,
Yeah.
and if they need jobs, so they want to get paid a little better than what the minimum wage pays over there. So we grab these people, we interview them. If we see that they fit our culture and our hiring criteria, then we hire them.
Yeah.
We give them a shot, but they
Yeah.
also got to give me like a week or two of their time,
Sure.
because I test them.
They
That's
got
when
to hit
that's
those.
where I test them, and then after a day or two, we figure out if this guy is BS or he's really about it. And the
Yeah.
ones that are stick around, they're usually the ones that I'd rather hire somebody that's not as good, but they're consistent, and they're trustworthy and loyal over
Yeah.
somebody who's comes in with an entitlement mentality, who's really good at what he does,
Hmm.
but I can't trust him, and he comes in late, and I can't do it.
No, it's not worth it. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we're getting to the end here, and there's always a
Yeah.
couple questions that I like to ask at the end. So the first one is, what's the craziest or most uncomfortable situation you've ever experienced with a seller?
Oh, dude, I have a couple, but probably one of the craziest ones is we got this lead in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Uh, um, what's this guy's name? I think I forgot the seller's name, but the guy had dementia,
Hmm.
and basically he asked us to show up. He wanted to see us in person to sign the contract. My acquisition manager and we went to Tampa. We drove to Tampa, and I go inside to look at the property, and then his brother's there, and then his brother is talking about he shouldn't sell the house. So now I had to deal with the brother, and the seller, who actually was on title, was like, "I want to sell my house. You don't tell me not to sell my house." So they started fighting. They started arguing, and then
Wow.
his got pissed off out of nowhere. And I said, "You know what? It's okay. I can leave. We can talk about it another time." Trying to stay as professional as possible. And the guy, he's like, "Let's step outside." So we go outside, and in the middle of the conversation, mind you, this guy seems like he has like dementia. Like he says things and then he forgets.
Hmm.
His pants fall down, like literally his whole pants fall down, and he's literally like holding his pants, and then he kind of falls on the floor, and I freaking go down and pick him up, and my acquisition manager is in the car looking at this whole thing happen. I'm like trying to pick him up, and I pick him up, and his pants fall down again, and then I'm helping him pick his pants up, and then I had to kind of carry him back inside the house. That was probably one of the craziest things that ever happened with a cell. And
Crazy.
let me tell you, the guy's still going to sell with us, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's funny.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
that had other crazy things happen as well. But one time I can tell you another one. Basically,
sure.
I go to the property, and the seller was motivated to sell. As soon as I get to the property, the lady was outside, and as soon as I walked up to her, she's like, "Let me get your ID." So I give her my ID, and she's like, "You think I'm really gonna sell you my property for this low, this and that?" And then she started getting nasty with me, gave me my ID back, and basically it was like all BS. As she was like baiting us on actually going to the property because she was getting so many phone calls, and kind of cursed us out and did a whole bunch of things. She even tried to spit at me, and basically
Oh,
we just had to leave. So yeah, we come across all these scenarios, but you have to stay focused and you have to stay professional no matter what.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The final question is, um, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, maybe in that first 6 month period when you're cold calling, looking for your first deal, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Great question. So number one, think big. And I know you said one piece of advice, but I think I can give a couple. And not be a jack of all trades,
Mm,
because you will be a master of nothing. If you want to do wholesaling, stick to wholesaling and find somebody who has the success you want and mimic them.
good piece of advice. A lot of people try to do everything.
Yeah, so basically, yes, what are the hottest things entrepreneurs are doing? Shopify, Amazon FBA, open an Amazon store, wholesaling real estate, day trading. Like, dude, stick to one thing and
Yeah,
go all in, and give yourself at least a year, and surround yourself with better people. You need better
yeah,
people around you. You can't be listening to the noise. Get away from shiny object syndrome. Don't worry about the guy who's driving a Lamborghini, or don't worry about the guy who's being flashy on Instagram. Don't worry about them. Worry about what you need to do to get that first deal, then
yeah,
second deal, then third deal, and then you pick up that momentum, and then you keep going, and then you start meeting other people, and joining um, masterminds if that's what you want to do,
yeah,
and learning from people who have the success that you're seeking. So yeah,
yeah.
that's what I would say.
Good piece of advice. Well, cool, man. If people want to reach out to you after the show, how can they go about doing that?
Simple. I just one of my goals for next year is to grow my social media presence.
Hmm.
And I think the best way for people to reach out to me would be Instagram. I'm active on it. So yes, and it's a private Instagram. I have to accept your request, and that would be the best way to do it.
What's your Instagram handle so people can find you?
So you could put at Leonpreneur.
Got
So
it.
it's at Leonpreneur. Leonpreneur.
Sweet. Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It was awesome, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure.